Leave you laid out on the floor, try to duck and roll, hit and miss, now you counting stars. Should've practiced more, should've hit the mask, get out there more. Claim that you're the best. You gotta show me, son. Actions over words, baby boy. Is you real or what? Talking way too much, world come. Back sports, talking way too much, world come. Back sports, talking way too much, world come. Back sports,
Yo, shout out to the hottest chat in the MF game, man. A-side official, no negotiations needed, period. You already know we back in the building with another one. Salute to Mr. Gumbo, a.k.a. Hot Grease on deck. Stickum Boys Fishing and Sports on deck. What's good with it? So, I want to address, a couple of things. I want to talk about the boot situation with Robert Garcia and what was said on video, but I also want to start off with Jahad Tucker's situation. Okay, as you all know, those of you that pay attention, stay close to boxing, man. That was a very entertaining fight that took place in yesterday in a what would you say, a cross promotion. The fight card wasn't too heavy, but there was some contentiousness between Jahad Tucker and Lorenzo Simpson. And Jahad ended up winning the fight, earning his 15th victory, which takes his record to a total of 15 victories, 1 defeat, 1 draw, 6 knockouts. Okay, he's 22 years of age. Also, shout out to Lorenzo Simpson. He did better than what I thought he would be, coming off a 6-rounder. Having had consistent 8-rounders, fought 6-rounder recently. But shout out to Truck Simpson, man. He stayed in the fight. I'm not gonna lie to you. Truck Simpson stayed in the fight. But one thing I can always say about Jahad Tucker is, his movement and his rhythm, his fluidity as a fighter is something that has to be, I want to call some of it innate, but you have to be blessed with remediating that 1,000 times. He's one of the fighters who can be defensively sound on the inside, very inside in the chest of his opponent, and still avoid punches. We're talking about uppercuts, those sneaky hooks that you don't see. Yesterday, he came out the box and he was powered up and he was letting his hands go like always. And he was hitting some angles and landing some shot combinations that deserved the check mark. You know what I'm saying? It was very entertaining out the gate, looking at how he went out there and set the momentum. These pictures are just a small part other than just watching the fight itself. Jahad Tucker proved once again that he is a top-level elite fighter at middleweight division. He just has to continue to build himself up. The reason why I said he is a elite level fighter due to his opposition that he's been in there with, that not a lot of people can say that they have, graced the square with. You know what I'm saying? Nico Seknashvili, Nicholas Flass, Francisco Verón, who was ranked top 5 in middleweight division while Jahad was contending in 154. You know what I'm saying? Throw Quincy in there, Santiago Fernandez. Like, he's been in there. Troy Williamson. He's been in there with some fighters that was tough opposition. And he went in there and put on a show. And the show he put on against Nico Seknashvili was a fighter who had, once upon a time fought as heavy as 177. My whole point is that he can box. When it comes down to the sweet science, he does a lot of technical skills that aren't appreciated unless you slow it down. You know what I'm saying? Some, you look at his fight, some of that, what he is doing, you have to slow it down, because when it's in real time, you can't appreciate it as much when he's moving and grooving. Simpson found that out. And like I said before, I salute Simpson. He ain't no chump. He went in there and fought. But Jahad clearly dominated the fight. Clearly, he dominated the fight. There's no way it was as close as the judges read it, but we all know how that goes. At the end of the day, we already know how judging can go sometimes. But let's understand something. Clearly, there was no question based off the people that saying, Simpson was going to mop Jahad. Clearly, Jahad won the fight. Clearly. And, they communicated afterwards and, cleaned it up a little bit. It was just promo of the fight. They didn't have beef, nothing like that. But it was a good sale, especially looking at how the main event went. The main event was, sleepy, ambient. I mean, it was a cocktail of nausea, for real. But I commend both fighters for going in there, putting on a show. But clearly, Jahad Tucker is the one who was the showman. He's the one that went in there and once again put his skills on display. It's called the sweet science for a reason. Everybody executed different. Everybody's skill set and cachet has a certain, different number attached to it, to how deep they can go in their bag. Some fighters don't have a deep cachet, but what they worked with, what they're working with, the tools and weapons that they're able to go in the ring with, they do it famously. They do it very, very well. And then there's certain fighters that they have a very deep cachet, but you only see it when it's fighters that you don't consider to be 50 fights or whatever the case may be. The list goes on. But let's talk about those who are unsure if Jahad Tucker is a ticket seller or Jahad Tucker is an elite fighter or whatever the case may be. Let me explain to you. There's certain barriers and obstacles that goes with promotions and the way a fighter is pushed. Unfortunately for Jahad, in my opinion, him being brash, competitive, hungry, motivated. He called out Xander Zayas early. Yeah, the same Xander Zayas that just now getting a title shot. But in the process of him getting that title shot, Jahad called him out early on. And since then, they kind of like been, trying to act like Jahad's not who he say he is. I'm glad that has since blew over, but I never could understand how you can get penalized for calling out a fighter under the same promotional banner. Like he's working his way up the ladder just like Jahad. So it shouldn't have been any confusion if Jahad wanted to smoke. But I just feel after that happened at the presser, he got shelved a little bit. Not the kind of shelf where you're not fighting. It's almost like kind of shelved, like we're going to give you tough opposition, but the promotion is not going to add up to the opposition. We're going to give you tough opposition, but the activity, the motion of the promotion is not going to add up. We're not going to put forth 100% effort to promote your name. And people start to think like, oh yeah, Jahad's coming up. We haven't heard too much about him. Oh yeah, he's coming up. I know who he is. He all right. He don't have no power. He's this, that, and the other. Well, like I said before, some of you cats may not appreciate Jahad Tucker's skill set and his ability to execute, how he executes so easily, so fluent and smooth. Just because you may be looking for something else. I don't know. Like, name me a fighter that's just knocking heads off at 160. Name me a fighter at 154 that's just knocking heads off. Just name me a fighter. Or fighters. You don't have divisions where there's multiple fighters knocking heads off. They're boxing. They're breaking their opponent down. Not every fighter that gets a knockout at these divisions are flatlining their fighter like Norman just did Jen Sasaki. Not everybody is flatlining fighters like Brian Mendoza did to Sebastian Fundora. It's just not happening, yo. It's just not the case, man. They're not flatlining like Maul Charlo did to freaking J-Rock. They're not flatlining them like freaking Mel did to Lubin. They're not flatlining them like that. It just doesn't happen. So when cats talk about so-and-so don't have knockout power, I mean, isn't it called boxing? It's called boxing at the end of the day. If you're saying the man ain't selling tickets, it's maybe because you think when you're basically watching him fight, you ain't trying to see any pluses, in this guy. You're not trying to boost him up. You're not trying to look at how talented he really is. You may be looking at it, mean mugging the goddamn TV, whatever. You may come in there already with ulterior freaking feelings. You may be already grumpy when Jahad Tucker graced the screen. But when somebody is giving you energy from the start of the opening bell, and we're not talking about being perfect, we're just talking about it being boxing. Fighters get touched up in boxing. But depending on what community you're communicating with, some believe that a fighter, he get hit too much. Well, we got fighters that's on the pound for pound list that's been on the canvas. I remember when Lomachenko was on the pound for pound list and he had been on the canvas by Jorge Linares. I do remember Lomachenko getting sat down in the 6th. Yes, I remember. I remember Bam Rodriguez getting off the canvas, coming back to win. I remember him showing heart. I remember Tio. Tio once upon a time was on the pound for pound list. Even when he lost his titles. For a little bit, then he was gone. There's been fighters that's been on the pound for pound list who's gotten off the canvas and fought through adversity. But what we should take in consideration about Jahai, he is one of the most entertaining fighters that's going to give you the type of action that you're looking for in the fight. If you're looking for Mike Tyson-esque, Tank Davis-esque, Norman Jr.-esque, not every fighter is going to have that. But fast hands, elusive defense, being able to hit certain angles, you know what I'm saying? Remediation. You can see it play out in front of the ring. Give you the action and energy that you're looking for. That's what we want. We all saw how the main event went yesterday with Vito Melnicki, and shout out to Melnicki, man. I have no problem with the guy, but it was a snoozer. They want to quickly talk about Shakur Stevenson all the time, but come on now. Come on, bro. That was a snoozer. And this was another snoozer in Jersey. I know Jersey fans are like, God damn, they keep on bringing these snoozing freaking main events. But it was a snooze fest. In my opinion, Jahad Tucker carried the evening, and he was the showcase of the night. But I don't know what to say about those who feel like the conversation should always be about ticket sales. How can you be held accountable for ticket sales when you're not the main event? Isn't that how that works? I mean, I used to hear all the time how Mikey Garcia and Errol Spence and people used to just say Errol Spence did 350,000 in Texas, like Mikey Garcia didn't exist, knowing there's a heavy Mexican fan base over there. They can choose who they want to give the boxing FICO credit points to. You know what I'm saying? They pick and choose. But when it comes to the competition, he did what he needed to do. Real talk. He did it. He did what he needed to do, and then come to find out there was other underlining contractual issues that he had to deal with too. But yet he still out there, came out there hungry, put on a show in light of having some difficulties. You know, what we call some discrepancies, as Jahad said. And you know, he had to work through some discrepancies and still come out there, keep his focus, and put on a show. So I'm not going out here trying to convince y'all, hey, you should pay attention to this guy, you know, this, that, and the other. No, I'm not doing that. I'm just saying, if you're a boxing head, just try to slow down. You know, watch his fights that when they put them out there, slow it down a little bit so you can appreciate what's going on, man. Because he was executing some freaking combination sets that you rarely see people put that many combinations of punches together in one set. You know, I mean, that's just like, you know, going on a little walk and you bump into a wasp. And the only way you find out is that they start stinging your ass. And then you're trying to run through the, you know, back to get home. But they on your ass, man. That's all I'm saying with this. Just pay attention to the sweet signs. You know, to the haters, I really can't filter. I'm not here to exterminate, you know, any of that. All I'm saying is it's not many boxers out here that has this energy, the skill set, the rhythm. It's always room for improvement for every fighter. But, you know, to go out here and put on a show and put on a performance like that is good times, man. What I often hear a lot of is just people just criticizing fighters for everything. How are we supposed to watch boxing and love it when the first thing you want to do is take out mental notes and do a spreadsheet and bulletize just cons, minuses. All you want to do is talk about all the stuff you wish they would have did better and they should be doing better. And these is coming from people that's observers, yo. Their whole entire mental storage consists of them looking at something and not giving the pros and cons, the checks and X's, the pluses and minuses. It's just them looking at it with preconceived notions. I want to see what this fighter ain't doing right because I really don't like him. Shout out to Jahad. Continue to do your thing, big dog. Continue to do your thing, man. Congrats on your win. Let's take a peek over here to a video that just surfaced, okay? And I just want you all to listen in on it, okay? And this video is Robert Garcia, and I believe YSM Sports. But this is making its rounds like everything else with Boost moving up to 154. It's making its rounds about, you know, just like the 30 days when, you know, Bozy said they was going to move up to 154 30 days ago, but yet Eddie's trying to pretend like he want to make the fight happen. You know what I'm saying? Like he want to make the fight happen. Lock it in before you go over the seas. Lock it in. And it's no real sense of understanding as to why the urgency. Why are you so urgently trying to get a team to freaking lock in a fight when it doesn't change anything? Whether you do it before or the day after, it really doesn't change anything. But let's take a look, listen to this audio.
He's bullshitting for the fight against 5 years to make that fight happen.
Here now, so it's that time for sure.
You said that? I don't even know what the fuck was that. He said that you said 5 years ago that around a little bit, sometime back, that you guys need about 4 to 5 years to make that fight happen between him and Vergil, and that 4 or 5 years que ya pasó, that's already gone through.
Oh, so right now is the perfect time.
Yeah, right now is the perfect time. Is kind of what he's saying.
Look, I'll tell you.
So they're talking about a video where allegedly Robert Garcia said 4 or 5 years to make that fight happen with Ennis. Okay. And, you know, at that time they were still growing. you know, as some people call, I wouldn't call them prospects, but you know, they was rising talents in boxing, rising talents. I don't want to say young pups, but they was rising talents. And Robert Garcia is watching this video because certain people have been talking about him ducking Vergil, who, you know, pretty much sent him the phone call with an offer for 154. Hey, I'm willing to fight you, this, that, and the other. And he said no because he wanted to go on some walks and enjoy his life or whatever happened.
I'll tell you right now, because this is for sure. Yesterday, I was told by very fucking, ¿cómo se llama eso? You know, like a real
Reliable sources.
100% that now that he's moving up, right away they invited him for the fight against Vergil for September, and he said he needs two tune-up fights at 54 before he fights Vergil. So
from a Robert Garcia is saying from a reliable sources, they said they offered Ennis the Vergil fight because he's supposed to be moving up. Now on his manifesto, it's time to go. He's moving up. He don't want to unify for undisputed no more 147. You have his cheerleaders out here making up excuses and saying, hey, if he can't make the weight no more due to the blood work that he done, and you know, Ennis just said not too long ago, early this year, to say he made the weight with no problem. Robert Garcia said the fight was offered to him, and they said he need 2 tune-ups. Whoever on Ennis's end said he needs 2 tune-ups. Now, I've heard word here and there that potentially that's not true. It's just hearsay, but yet Robert Garcia is putting it out there that, yeah, it was said. It was said that they said him moving up to 154 pounds, Ennis need 2 tune-ups. Now, the wild part about this, now we're curious to know if he's actually going to get 2 tune-ups, y'all. That's what I want to know. Will we see Ennis fight somebody of notoriety and elite status, the higher echelon of the 154-pound divisions, just like old Bud Crawford did? Because at one point in time, they was basically clowning Crawford for fighting Avanesian, a fighter that they couldn't get up out of there. It probably was a rehydration clause on the IBF title. Yeah. But long story be short, I'm going to feel some type of way if Boots doesn't fight anybody of notoriety when he moves up to 154, because Bud did. You know that song DJ Khaled had? God did. Bud did. He moved up and fought Madrimov. And the criticism that he got is, oh, his power. His power doesn't carry up. No, we did the blood test and we found out Crawford is operating at 96%, but yet his power doesn't carry up. But he's at 97%. But you just said 96 though. I mean 98.4%. And come on, bro. It goes up every time it changes, just like them YouTube people. I'm being honest. Crawford was performing at 99.7% and he couldn't knock out Madrimov. That's what they were saying about Crawford, right? But he took the championship fight. Now for Ennis, to be honest, I don't know what to tell you anymore. I'm trying, y'all. I'm trying. Because if Ennis goes up there and do not fight, his first fight was somebody of notoriety, and then the second fight comes in, it's nobody of notoriety. Yo, what are they gonna say then? Because it's some hitters up there at 154, and he's supposed to be one of the hitters. Like I said, I'm rooting for Ennis at 154. I want to see the brother go up there and once for all prove the naysayers wrong. I'm not a naysayer. I'm a straight up critic right now. A critic, in my opinion, is worse than a naysayer. I'm a critic because when people are compared to certain individuals to be a phenom, people compared to supposed to be the king of a division, which they ain't earned the throne. When you have people saying that, hey, the achievements that he's accomplished thus far, it's okay. It's okay. He's still better than Norman. He's still better than Barrios. He's still better than Stantiones. That's why he took his belt. We have to go back to the original. How do the historians or those individuals who are voters or on the panel, on the voting body fame, what criteria? And one of the criteria they always look at, like, did these fighters fight opponents that was considered 50-50? How did they perform when it came time for them to fight for a championship? And I myself, just as I was trying to explain earlier, was that elite status has a variety of layers. A fighter can be elite by stepping in there with fighters who has a big name, who are champions, and some of them they're victorious, and some of them they're not. But the experience alone is saying they was provided the opportunity to step in there with a champion. Then you have elite individuals who only have 0 to maybe 1 loss, very minimal losses, and they have been in there with said name boxers who are considered to be elite in their own way, or fighters who have mad experience, been champions before. Maybe they at a point in their career where they're on the decline, but yet when they was on the hill, they was at their best competitive edge. They was doing big things in boxing. They have multiple division championships and everything else. That can consider a fight to be elite. It's just so many areas where you can compute, and you can equate that to what elite status. Some of these cats would never give fighters an elite status because they just don't want to respect how tough the sport truly is. The sport of boxing, among other combat sports, is tough. This shit is tough, man. And like I said the other day, there's no laboratory as to how we're cloning these fighters to come out here and compete against humans. The cloning factor has yet to be implemented. We haven't found out the star license yet. The fighters with the neuro license, who are part robot, part human. We haven't seen that implementation yet. We haven't found out, is that actually going to be a league yet? Right now, it's humans who was naturally born from another human being. They're the one that's contending. And with that said, we just don't have 17 divisions, and in the top 10, let's just say the top 10, they're murderers row names. We just don't have it, and we would never have it. I mean, you can go down 1 through 3 in some of these sanctioning bodies before it start getting a little cloudy and muddy. You could go just outside the top 5, and you can barely have visibility. Like, who that? Hey, mama. Hey, mama. Who there? You know that? I don't know him. He in this ranking though, mama. Who that? It's a lot of who that's on the ranking system. But see, the weird and wildest part about this freaking expedition that happens all the time on social media is that we will have conversations about familiar names in the sport of boxing. And we will have individuals just tearing them and chipping away at every part of what they supposed to be getting credit for as a fighter. They keep on chipping away, swinging the axe, chopping and chopping and chopping. So being that isn't the same, what I mean by that, it isn't the same across the board, 17 divisions. Let's just talk about some of the hotter divisions, 35 all the way up to 54. Okay. If you take the more popular names from 35 up to 154 division, and you say, let me talk about the champions, everybody's going to have, once again, they're going to place a certain percentage of scrutiny on a fighter that they like, and that scrutiny is going to big them up, and they're going to feel good about it. And then they're going to have a heavy load of scrutiny that tears that fighter down. You say to yourself, it's never going to be any satisfaction in this. But one commonality you will see is that with picking out the fighters that's supposed to be somebody, the champions, it's going to be a huge load of criticism. Every time when you have a boxing debate, it's just going to be people that's dissatisfied. And just like Tank Davis, for instance, you know, Tank Davis has taken the approach that he really doesn't want a lot of titles. He could care less about unifications, right? But you'll get somebody saying for Tank Davis, him not wanting to have a lot of titles, him ducking the best competition. When clearly boxing is a business. And for Tank, he's made it perfectly clear he's all about the money. Even when Turki Al-Sheikh proposal kind of was floating around on the surface, he said, no, you got to send me some Ferraris, 2, whatever, right? You got to send me some Ferraris over here. Because Tank said, I'm making that type of money over here. I don't have to go over there. But my whole point is, each of these belts come with sanctioning fees. And to my unknowing, I was speaking with my colleague today, you know, the media marketing agent, Shaw News, right? And I'm going to be honest, I did not know that the secondary belts, you still have to pay a sanctioning fee. We know the WBC, WBA, IBF, and WBO, you know, the supers, you know, let's just say the supers, they have that 3% up there, right? But I didn't know with all these NABO, Continental, Silver, Reggie, all these other belts, you have to pay sanction fees on. And I think it's smart that, you know, Tank and other fighters are not really in a hurry to get these belts because they want to make their paycheck the most that they want, and they just want to pay in Tank's case, they just want to pay the, you know, the sanction fee for one belt. Anyway, back to the task of what I was saying about Jaron Ennis. They're pretty much putting it out there that he wanted 2 tune-ups. Whether it's true or not, it's just a lot of fuzzy stuff that's going on. Let's see what else Robert Garcia had to say.
Oh, he's bullshitting. Oh, he's
right.
bullshitting. He's, you know, the video, the camera, whatever. Obviously, he's gonna say that because he's a fighter and he's a bad motherfucker. You know, he's bad. He's bad. But moving up to weight, and I don't blame him either. He wants 2 fights before he fights Vergil, before he challenges Vergil, which I don't blame him in. You know, like I said, he's moving up. He's going to test his weight, test his power, everything. I want before he wants 2 fights before even mentioning Vergil. I was told that yesterday by a very, very reliable. It's not a fucking lie.
He says not a lie. So he needs 2 tune-up fights before fighting Vergil. That separates him and Crawford. So don't ever compare them because he's not moving like Crawford. This man is 27 years old. He's 10 years younger than Crawford. And he still refused to move like Crawford. So I guess for Crawford is wisdom. I guess for him is wisdom when he's making his decisions. When he fought Madrimov, he was old and his legs was gone and everything else. But yet to a young bull that's moving up a division, and he said he can't have an off night. He's been considered the big dog at 147 when it comes to weight. He need 2 tune-up fights, y'all. Could you imagine Crawford getting 2 tune-up fights when he vacated his title and moved up to 47? Can you imagine that? Because Errol Spence told him to get a belt. So Crawford vacated his belts at 140, came up there to Jeff Horn and got a belt. And then it still took them a minute to fight. He finished off at 147, moved up to 54 and got a belt. I mean, I guess it looks easy when you're just looking at it and you're not actually participating in the same manner. I guess it looks easy. I'm just disappointed in how this whole process was playing out with, them speaking, about going up to 154 30 days ago, and Eddie Hearn's trying to come out here and play the fiddle. Eddie Hearn, I see him as the group of vampires that was out there in Sinners came up. Hey, howdy, how you doing? We was just stopping by, wanted to come in and have a little fun and play some music. I heard you all the way down the road, man. Oh man, I like the way that sound right there. I wonder, can you just let us in so we can come? I mean, that's Eddie, bro. I'm not saying he's a vampire. I'm just saying there's a certain level of red eyes that comes along with how he puts things out there. Some people still don't grasp that if Team Norman sent a counter, that's not them turning down what was sent to them. They counter offered, right? Not only that, I mentioned Rachel Donaire, who I put the link out there before. Appreciate Big Bunts Unboxing dropping that. It's pretty much, she explained that Eddie did not send the $20,000 sanctioning fee to the IBF for the mandatory to be communicated, so they can talk about a unification other than the mandatory. And the mandatory is very important. If you don't send that, then there's no more options for you to talk unification. It's none and void. Now you have to strictly talk to the mandatory. And we all know Eddie Hearn didn't want that fight with Norman Jr., so he didn't pay the $20,000 that was non-refundable. He didn't pay it. Stop talking about he get 1.7. He was getting high payday. It never was going to happen, just like Tay Jones said on his live. It never was going to happen because 20 grand wasn't set. And Rachel had already came on. I did an interview with her, and she broke it down thoroughly. Why people want to ignore what she said, who knows, man? I don't know. But she was dropping some truth. I don't know. To be honest, I have no idea. But when it comes down to, Jerron Ennis' next move, I'm no way, shape, or form wishing bad on his next move. How his performance should go at 154. I'm just curious to know who that body would be. What name is he selecting to contend in his first debut? I mean, his debut at 154 pounds. I'm curious to know how that's going to be. Shout out to my guy Haynes Legacy. God bless you, brother. Appreciate you pulling up. Yes, sir. OG Bruce Gas, Boxing Jazz, and more. What's good? I see you in the building. But I'm just curious to know how that whole process is going to play out. Why? Because, they keep tagging him as being a special fighter, a phenom, comparing him to Bud Crawford, who's a switch hitter too. He's a switch hitter like Bud Crawford, comparing him to the next Roy Jones. I mean, they're pulling out the blanket, man. No, not the blanket, the cape. They don't sit up here and they popping the cape, man, trying to make him be Superman. I'm saying to myself, hey, hold up. Have you earned the S on your chest? Because right now, if you're trying to fly 147 pounds is where you need to be. That's if you're trying to really put that S on your chest. You have 2 belts already. You're 2/4 the way through. 2/4 the way through. That's all. You're 2/4 the way through, man. That's all you got to do. You're 2/4 the way through. All you have to do is make weight and contend in the biggest fight of your career and face the guy who went viral for knocking out Jen Sasaki, who they want to say, oh, it don't matter now because Jen Sasaki was knocked out already. Hey, I don't see that other knockout. I'm just looking at the one that's all on World Star, and all that other stuff. But truth be told, all I'm trying to say, you sound like a real hater when y'all was up here trying to say that the Japanese guy was gonna pull a Goku, and Norman's gonna end up like Stephen Fulton. He shouldn't have went over there. See, here we go again. We have an American fighter selling his belt in Japan. No, not the case, bro. It's not the case. It didn't go down like that. It didn't go down like that, bro. I'm be honest with you. It didn't go down like that. But it was a great fight. Of course, they're getting sanction fees on everything they give out, even those medals. Even the medals got sanction fees. Wow. So all these fighters were walking around with secondary belts. You saw Vito. He had like 3, secondary belts. He's paying sanction fees on that. Wow. Little medals, you get medals. I wonder what the sanction fee, 0.4%, or they love using whole numbers. That'd be 1%, please. Yeah, 2%. They use whole numbers. I mean, that's crazy. Thanks for the info, Bruce. You know what I'm saying? Thanks for the info. Real talk. I'm not going to be able to drop the link today because I was on the other day for like 4 hours, man. I might go on a little later, but I'm not dropping the link right now. But what I would say, especially the South Boxing Nerd in the building, AB in the building on the Brown, you already know. What I will say is, for those of you who are Boots acquaintances, encourage him to stay at 147 and get this Southern smoke. It would be good if he just kept those belts, so it'd be much easier for Norman to go up there and put him on a highlight reel and then clean it up and fight Barrios at the end. You know what I'm saying? That's the ideal way, because that shortens up the whole process. And then once Norman unified 147-pound division, he can move up he can move on to defend them a couple of times, make the big paychecks, and then move up to 154. I'm pretty sure Boots will still be there. If Boots is a champion when he gets there, go up there and take that belt at 154 too, man. Because Boots said he wanted to be undisputed in 4 divisions, but the first division for him to even start that climb, abort, over. Do you copy? Over. Abort mission. Do you copy? Over. Abort mission. 147, abort mission. Over. Do you copy? He aborted mission, a nerd. He aborted mission when he said, he wanted to be undisputed in 4 division, nerd. That's what the man said. You heard him say it, man. Stop playing. You're not doing your job, nerd. You're supposed to be admin logistics. Your liaison, the whole entire purpose of your liaison is to make sure he stayed at 147, man, to unify this division. And he chose to abort mission, bro. That doesn't seem fair to me. That doesn't seem fair at all. But until next time, man, shout out to the hottest chat in the MF and game, man. I'm out. Peace.